Years ago in Morocco, I witnessed a crippled individual crawling across a dirt road. I often dreamed of how I could help that poor person. During the past few years, God has shown me a path.
Throughout the world, the disabled community lives in back rooms, away from the eyes of the able-bodied population. Millions of victims of disease, accidents, war, landmines, and other causes have lost their mobility. In many cases, they're members of loving families, but families who are simply too poor to afford the luxury of a wheelchair. In these third world countries, if you can't walk by yourself, you must crawl or be carried, living a life of confinement on the floor, in a bed or a back room. If you're a working adult who becomes disabled, you may lose your livelihood and jeopardize the lives of your family. Many charitable organizations ship either donated used wheelchairs or conventional design new wheelchairs to poor countries. This is a very costly and inefficient process. To date, less than 100,000 wheelchairs were placed through much effort.
And then I look into statistics on the need of wheelchairs from handicapped people around the world, from organizations such as the UN and World Health Organization. And I found that there is a need for over 100 million wheelchairs. There are over 100 million people who have lost the ability to walk and either crawl, live on the ground, or somehow are supported by their loved ones and are basically doomed to live that way for the rest of their lives. 100 million people.
Don is trained as a mechanical engineer and has spent the past 25 years developing blood separators, diagnostic technologies, and various biomedical products that help preserve the health of citizens in prosperous countries like the United States. But Don now feels it's time to turn his attention and the gifts God has blessed him with toward one of the most basic needs of his fellow man, mobility.
It's simple, but we can afford to give them away.
É muito simples.
And when you visit a slum, when you visit people that are handicapped in developing countries, and you see what they don't have and what they could use to establish mobility, and you walk away with an entirely different definition of a wheelchair. They want to get up off the ground. They want to get up off the dirt and the dampness and away from where the snakes crawl and the rats crawl. They want to be able to get out of the way of people. And so a wheelchair, all it needs is a chair with wheels. It's quite appropriate for their needs.
From the initial introduction of our first wheelchair in Chennai, India, the free wheelchair mission seemed to take on a life of its own. Each day opened another door to opportunity and improvement. The second mission to Luanda, Angola proved even more valuable and dramatically demonstrated the overwhelming need for wheelchairs.
The problem here is that we don't have enough wheelchairs. We have so many people that want this chair. It's very difficult for us to decide who to give this chair to.
Well, it was really hard to leave because we had only 4 wheelchairs and we had a lot of crutches that some other organization generously donated. But before we even got the third wheelchair out, there were probably 10 more people lined up waiting for wheelchairs. And the thing that I realized that was the saddest is that the ones that were the quickest to get out were probably the ones that didn't need the wheelchairs the most. Because the longer we stayed there, we saw more and more people coming out of the tents. They didn't have the mobility that the first group had. And it just took longer. And it was like we should have waited probably and given the wheelchairs to the ones that got there last as opposed to the ones that got there first. And we just have to go back. We've got to get another 500 wheelchairs.
It takes so little to make a difference in another's life. The Free Wheelchair Mission is a non-profit humanitarian ministry committed to providing wheelchairs to the poor in developing countries. But more importantly, we're a group of individuals who all share a common compassion, which is to serve others in the name of Jesus Christ. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your support.